Greetings MS-20 fans, John from Nova Music here. Recently, our friend Rich Formidoni from Korg USA visited us to talk about the MS-20 module kit with SQ1 step sequencer bundle, which of course meant that we had to assemble an MS-20 module. So we realize it's not the first or only example, but since we had to assemble one anyway, we figured we might as well set up some cameras and make this time-lapse assembly video. There are a few things we discovered along the way that we figured we'd share with you in case it makes your own MS-20 module assembly any easier. Step 5 in Korg's assembly instructions has you attach the Trig switch button to the top panel. The Trig switch button comes in the box wired to the panel jack circuit board, which is attached to the top panel later in Step 7. In between these steps, it's also necessary to attach a spacer panel to the panel jack circuit board. The assembly instructions don't explicitly tell you to detach the Trig switch button from the panel jack circuit board, but in later steps they do appear to show it detached, and it also seems to be included among 5 wiring harnesses that you're instructed to connect later in Step 8. So far be it from us to contradict or override Korg's own instructions, but since the Trig switch wiring harness detaches from and reattaches to the panel jack circuit board just as easily as any of the other wiring harnesses you'll attach in the course of assembly, you might find it easier to detach the Trig switch from the panel jack circuit board before installing the Trig switch to the top panel in Step 5, and then reattach it to the panel jack circuit board along with the other wiring harnesses later in Step 8. In Step 7, where you attach the panel jack circuit board to the top panel, there's a little note here in the instructions telling you to feed the wiring harness for the switch VR circuit board through the hole in the panel jack circuit board. We failed to do this, and our only saving grace is that we thought to check the underside of the panel jack circuit board after we'd only tightened 4 of the patch panel nuts instead of later after we'd tightened all 30 or so. So nothing extra here that isn't already covered in the instructions. We're just adding some extra emphasis to the note about feeding the wiring harness for the switch VR circuit board through the hole in the panel jack circuit board before you start attaching and tightening nuts on the top of the panel. In the precautions before assembly portion of the printed instructions, Korg tells you not to tighten screws with excessive force or over-tighten them, otherwise the parts may be damaged. This is good advice. One area in particular where we didn't quite realize how close we came to over-tightening was when we were attaching the MS-20 module's new junction board. As you can see here on the underside, we probably over-torqued a couple of the nuts on the top of the junction board, which is why these jack assemblies look a little crooked here underneath. Had we tightened them even more, it's not hard to imagine they might have been torn off these small free-floating circuit boards entirely, so be careful. As others have noted, even though several of the most popular modifications on previous MS-20 models have been brought out to the top panel, things like pulse width modulation and switching between the 2 filter types, Korg not only gives you several pre-drilled patch point blanks here along the front edge next to the new junction section, they also still provide nice clear labels right on the circuit board for some key modification opportunities. Since we were in there anyway, we figured we'd show those to you here in our video. Here we see Rev 2 low pass filter out and ground. Here are similar labels for VCO1 and VCO2. And here's VCO1 mod. Here's the Rev 1 high pass filter out and ground. And here we can see the Rev 1 low pass filter out and ground along with the VCA jack in and ground as well as the VCA jack switch. Here are some labels seemingly related to the external signal input. And here alongside this wiring harness are a couple of labels for the VCA out. We weren't rushing or racing in our assembly, and as noted, we did have to backtrack once or twice. All in all, it took us just under 2 hours to put the whole thing together, and the final result looks great and sounds even better. Once again, the MS-20 module kit is now available with the SQ1 step sequencer. For great deals on this limited edition combo, as well as the still available MS-20 Mini, please check out our bundles at novamusic.com.